Hi guys, welcome to my channel Pretty Strings, and if you are new here then don't forget to subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon. In this particular video I'm going to be sharing the eyeshadow palettes that I have in my collection. I have always been experimental when it comes to eyeshadows. Like, I like to try eyeshadows from multiple brands. I have got a lot of variety in my collection. The very first eyeshadow palette that I have in my collection is from the brand Wet n Wild, and it is in the shade Rosy in the Air. So you get 10 shades over here, and this is a very affordable and beginner friendly palette. This was my very first eyeshadow palette, and it includes basic transition shades, plus you get 2 shimmer shades over here. The matte shades are extremely blendable and the shimmer shades are also very pigmented. This is basically a really good palette for those people who like to create very basic eye looks. I'm gonna swatch few shades for you so that you can have a clarity. So this is the champagne shimmer shade and this is the copper shimmer shade. As you can see, this is really pigmented. This is the maroonish matte shade and this is the brown matte shade. When I had purchased this palette, there were only 4 variants, but now as I can see, there are multiple shades available in this palette. This is also a multi-purpose palette. You can see I have hit the pan of this. So I have used this shade as a highlighter many times, plus I have used the browns for filling up my eyebrows and for doing my contour. Plus I like to use this maroon shade as my blush sometimes. So I would say that this is a very good and affordable palette, as you can use this in multiple ways. Moving on to the next eyeshadow palette that I have is from the brand Nicka, and I own 3 palettes from their range. So one is the Oh Honey palette, second one is the Sugar Plum palette, and third one is the Ocean Eye palette. Nicka is also a very affordable brand and you get to see multiple shade range from this brand. Talking about the very first eyeshadow palette that I have from this range, which is in the shade Sugar Plum. This Sugar Plum shade includes pinks and mauves. As you can see, this is a 9 colored eyeshadow palette which includes the matte and the shimmer shades. Talking about the pigmentation, so the matte shades are well pigmented and I won't say that they are blendable because it takes a lot of time to blend them out. The shimmer shades are also not very smooth, I would say. Like, you get to see a lot of chunky particles in them. I would also say that the shades do give a lot of fallouts when you apply them on your lids. Here are the swatches of the few shades. As you can see, these are the shimmer shades and this one is the matte shade. I would personally not suggest you to buy this palette as it's not that great or that good. You get a lot more good palettes in this range. If you want to add it in your collection, you can have it. The second range from this brand that I own is the shade Ocean Eyes, and it includes the blues. Like, you get all the blue shades and the purple shades in here, plus you get a metallic shimmer shade. In this palette you get 4 shimmer shades and 5 matte shades. The pigmentation of the shades in this eyeshadow palette is far much better than the Sugar Plum one, as the matte shades are extremely pigmented and blendable also. The shimmer shades in this palette are extremely pigmented and smooth, plus you don't get to see any heavy or chunky glitter particles in them. This palette is really good for those who like to play on with their eyeshadows and who like really bright or pop kind of an eye look. So here are the swatches of the few shades. These 3 are the shimmer shades. As you can see that they are well pigmented. Moving on to the third palette from this brand, which is the Oh Honey shade, and here is the palette. As you can see, this is also a 9 colored eyeshadow palette which includes 5 shimmer shades and 4 matte shades. So this is my most favorite eyeshadow palette, as The shimmer shades are so well pigmented and blinding. The matte shades are also very pigmented, plus you don't have a lot of fallout. So the ones who have been searching for the best gold and bright yellow shade palette for wedding seasons or any kind of occasion to match it up with your ethnic wear, you should definitely try this palette. It's a beautiful palette. Here is the swatches of all the shimmer shades. As you can see how beautiful and pigmented they are. Moving on to the third eyeshadow palettes that I have, and they are from the brand SFR Color Beauty. So I got these from Amazon and they are the dupes of the Huda Obsession palette. The shades that I have is the Sapphire Obsession and the Emerald Obsession shade. So in this palette you get 5 shimmer shades and 4 matte shades. As you can see that the matte shades appear so pigmented on the palette, but once you apply it on your lids and then you start blending them, the pigmentation is all gone with one brush stroke. I personally faced a lot of difficulty in building up the colors as there was barely any pigmentation and I had to reapply the matte eyeshadow so many times. But the shimmer shades from this palette are quite good. They are very smooth and there is barely any kind of fallout from them. Also, I don't understand the reason behind making the shades so much perfumed and scented. Like, the shades from this palette smells like a strong talcum powder, and yeah, I personally don't like scented palettes. Here is the pigmentation of the shimmer shades. As you can see that they are so well pigmented, and here are the matte shade swatches with barely any kind of pigmentation. From the same brand, I have one more palette which is the Emerald Obsession, and it includes all the green shades. The shimmer shades are really very pigmented and the matte shades are not at all pigmented. So here are the swatches of the shimmer shades, as you can see. And here are the swatches of the matte shade. Moving on to the next and my most favorite eyeshadow palette, which is from the brand Makeup Revolution, and this is the Maxi Reloaded Big Shot palette. This is a very big palette. As you can see, you get multiple matte shades and a lot of shimmer shades in here. This is a 45 colored eyeshadow palette. This is like the ultimate eyeshadow palette. The shades are to die for. They are so pigmented. The shimmer shades from them are like so good. If you get this eyeshadow palette in your collection, you don't need to have any other eyeshadow palette as it includes nearly all the shades, and you can create so many looks from this palette for every single occasion. Although this goes on a slightly expensive side, but trust me, it's really worth it. So here is the 45 colored eyeshadow palette and it is so gorgeous. I literally went crazy when I had this in my collection. Like, I was eagerly waiting for this one as this particular shade range is mostly out of stock. Also, I would like to tell you that I had created a butterfly face art with this palette and I got so many compliments after that. So here are the swatches of the few matte shades and you can see this is so pigmented, and here are the swatches of the shimmer shades. This is just one stroke and you can see the level of pigmentation these shimmers have, like beautiful. Moving on to the next affordable eyeshadow palette, which is from the brand Mars Cosmetics and which is their Mars Mesmerize eyeshadow palette made in India. And here is the palette. You get so many shades in this palette, ranging from bright matte shades to glitter shades. You can create a soft glam look with this palette or even a bold eye look, as you get multiple shades over here. Talking about the texture of these shades, so these shades are extremely pigmented and they blend in so beautifully. Plus the color payoff is so good. Plus the glitter shades are so pretty and so pigmented. Here is the swatches of the matte shades. As you can see, they are so pigmented, and here is the pigmentation of the shimmer shades. As you can see, they are so buttery smooth. Moving on to the next palette, which is my most favorite palette, and this is the K Beauty Self Love palette. So here is the palette. As you can see, it includes the matte and shimmer shades. It's a beautiful palette and you get multiple peachy shades over here. So I personally don't need to give a lot of review about this palette because this is already such a famous palette. When you apply the matte shades on your eyes and blend it with your brushes, it just blends in like a dream, and you don't need to put any extra effort while blending them. They are so much pigmented and there is barely any fallout. The shimmer shades are to die for. They are so good, and you can create a beautiful peachy eye look with this palette. I personally love the packaging of this palette as it is so sturdy. Here are the swatches of few shades. I have swatched 2 matte shades and 2 shimmer shades, and you can see how beautiful they look. You can choose the shade range of your choice, and I would definitely recommend you to buy this palette. Talking about the next palette, which is again from the brand Mars Cosmetics, and this is the Bling It On Glitter palette, which has almost all the glitter shades that I wanted in my collection. So this is basically a 9 colored pressed glitter palette. As these are pressed glitter, so you can directly apply them on your lids without applying any glitter glue. There is minimal fallout from these, so you don't need to worry about the fallout also. Plus the pigmentation of the glitters is also very good. I really wanted to try this glitter palette, so I got my hands on them, and trust me, these glitters are so pretty and you can create multiple glitter eye looks with this. Plus it comes under the budget, so yeah, it's definitely a must have. Here are the swatches of the pressed glitters and they look so blingy and so pretty. Moving on to the liquid glitter eyeshadows. So I own 3 liquid glitter eyeshadows from the brand Mars Cosmetics, and here are the 3 liquid glitter eyeshadow. One is in the shade Gravity 05, the other one is in the shade Nebula 07, and the third one is in the shade Electra Heart 06. According to the price, the quantity and the quality of this liquid glitter eyeshadows is just simply amazing. You get a perfect one stroke pigmentation. You don't see any kind of chunky glitter particles in them. Also, they are not too sticky or too patchy. The packaging of the liquid eyeshadows is so sturdy and so good. Plus you get a slightly slanted wand, which makes the application of the glitter super easy. So here are the swatches. This is the shade Electra Heart, this is the shade Nebula, and this is the shade Gravity. This is one swipe application, and as you can see, the pigmentation is so good. Lastly, coming to the neon pigments that I have in my collection. So I own this 7 towered neon pigments from the brand Vampire Beauty. I got this last year with the purpose of creating creative eye looks and face art. These are UV activated pigments and include 7 bright neon shades. You get a bright neon orange shade, bright neon pink, neon blue, neon coral, neon purple, neon lime, and a neon green shade. These 7 shades are packed together and you cannot detach single shades. Like if you have to use this pink shade, you just simply have to twist the cap and you have the pigment. This is what I love about their packaging, that you have 7 colors intact and there is no fear of losing or missing any one of them. Talking about the pigmentation, so these are very pigmented, and I think the pigmentation pop-ups more when you apply a white base or a white eyeshadow primer. Plus these pigments glow in the UV light. You can either directly apply these pigments or you can mix them with Duralin or fixing spray to make them kind of a liquidy and do face art. So this is all about my eyeshadow collection, and most probably I'm gonna add the high-end brands in my collection as well super soon. I hope you guys found this video useful. If you like the video, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the bell icon. Thank you for watching.